Okay. I think let's see. I think
Nice.
this is gonna be great. All right, we're ready to go. Um
Awesome.
First off, how's your weekend? You had a I mean it was a good, Memorial Day long weekend. Did you do anything fun?
Um, did I do it? Oh yeah, I went shopping with my wife and got to meet up with some family, so that was nice. Yeah. What about you?
My family every year goes to the lake, and my parents have some boats, and so they do sailboats.
Oh,
So they actually do
nice.
some sailboat racing, and so yeah, it was good.
That's awesome.
Time in the lake, so it was fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so what I wanted to show you is just kind of the things that I worked on over the weekend,
Okay.
and then there's some other things that I think you'd be interested in. Okay, so a lot of what I'm working towards right at the moment is um, I have this site here, Your Digital Toolbox, and over the weekend I've kind of come to some realizations on a few things. One of those is what I'd like to do is work on getting more people in to some of these groups here, so that and have you've heard of School? Have you heard of the School communities?
Um, is that like a
It's like a website slash community area. Um,
okay?
yeah. So basically, School, it allows you to have like a community area, and there's like courses that you could take inside of those and things like that. And so in doing some of the research for building some of the automations that I do, let's see, switch this. Sorry, we're gonna come over here. Um, like there are a bunch of people who are accessing these school communities, and so there's free school communities and there's paid school communities. And in looking at some of the AI automation paid school communities, they're paying like anywhere from 25 to $100 a month per student. And some of these communities, and I'm sure there's some inflated somehow, but some of these communities have like 1,500 students. I mean, that's a reasonable amount of money for running a community, right?
Yep.
And so some of the things you get for being in a community is, one, you would get access to like all of the Notamation like modules and how to's of like, hey, here's how you build this thing, here's how you build the next thing. And that's one thing. But then they also have like a daily call for half an hour to an hour where people get their questions answered. And how does that work? And so one of the things I'm like, like I can do that, and we can do it right here inside of Your Digital Toolbox. And one of the things that I think ties in really nicely is like, this is Your Digital Toolbox, and we're creating Notamation tools to do AI stuff. Does that kind of make sense? And I'm going to go into that a little
Uh-huh.
more, but um,
Yeah.
so I want to work on creating this community. I want to work on creating like what that would look like is making more videos and streaming more to YouTube, showcasing all of the different things that we're building, and then inviting people to come over and join the free version or the free group that we're going to have set up. And then inside of that free group, we're going to then invite people to come over to our paid group where we're doing our calls and things like that are a little more one-on-one or a little more um, you know, customized for the person. So
Uh-huh.
so I wanted to show you like some of the things that I got finished this weekend to like support making that happen, and then we can kind of go into some of the other stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so first off, I'm building all of this inside of this is Buddy Boss, and we're using LearnDash. So one of the pieces is if we come over here into Notamation, and let's say I have this AI chat here. So here is this is pretty cool. We can, have you played with this much at all?
Yeah, I love N8N. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. So So I can say, hey, how's your morning? This is like one of the simplest chatbots, right? It
Uh-huh.
says, I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? How's your morning going? Blah blah blah, right? So
Right.
super simple AI agent. I the next kind of level that I've got here is this one is called the Ultimate Assistant. And so this one has access to my email. It also has access to my calendar, and it also has access to this one is the contacts. So now what I can do is and this one's tied to Telegram, and at the moment it's Telegram, but I'm going to show you something in a second where we're going to kind of take it out of Telegram and move it into our own thing. But
Okay.
Telegram Messenger, is that it? Let's see. How do I get to the web version?
Oh, I've used Telegram. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's there we go. Okay, so here is Telegram. And so I set this up here. This is your digital toolbox assistant. So I just made this little app here to do this, right? And I don't actually know if I have your contact info in here, but is that how you spell your last name? Rama?
Um, it's yeah, RIMA. Yep.
Okay. So I just said, can you give me Tanarima's contact info? It's going to go and it's going to check in with my contacts. Then this is Google contacts, not necessarily my iPhone contacts. So I couldn't find any contact information. And how'd you like to, add a new contact for him? Yeah. And, so I could go and do that. I'm going to pick somebody who I already have though. I'm going to pick myself here. I'm going to say, hey, I want to meet with John Krasik in the next few days. Can you recommend a good time to meet? I want to cover building AI automations. So I want to meet with John Krasik in the next few days. Can you recommend a good time to meet? I want to cover building AI automation. So it's going to go off and it's going to do its thing. It's going to check my let's see. So it said, you can read this, or is it too fuzzy?
It's a little fuzzy. I
Okay.
can't see a lot of the text.
Yeah, it's just, when we're streaming it over two places, it seems like it's a little fuzzy. But it said, I found John Krasik's contact information and his phone number is blah. You can reach out to him directly to discuss to set up a meeting time regarding automations. Would you like assistance with anything else? I say, let's send him an email at my email address. And so it'll do its thing. And so a lot of times it'll come back and it'll say, all right, here, I've put together this. Okay. And so it just said, hey, I sent the email automatically. So, so this is pretty cool. And we can check out the executions over here and you can see like it does all of the things. It sends the things. It can also, like, you can speak to it, right? So you could type text to it, but you can also speak to it and it'll transcribe your audio and then it will send that audio in and then have it do all of the stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I've had a couple where, and one, it checks your calendar. It checks, it basically integrates all of these different pieces, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, like, we can go through and we can start explaining how to do this, and we can help by creating all of these. We can like showcase how to create each of these different pieces, right? An email agent. So the email agent, you can send an email, reply to an email, label things, create drafts, and all of this is now set up, right? So,
Mhm.
but the question is, how do we go through and how do we like do a good job of showcasing these automations inside of our contact, inside of our group, right? Inside of the website, how do we go about doing that? So here's what I got. I went ahead and copied. You can just copy an automation like this. I have over here example.test, and so I'm gonna actually, I have to log in here. So 1 second, sorry. Let's see. Okay, cool. So if I come over here, edit this page with Elementor. So this weekend, one of the things I did was I finished creating this widget here. And what this widget does is it allows us to copy Notamation nodes. So I just had that copied. We can paste it here inside of our, we can paste it inside of our the area for all of the people who are learning how to do this. Then you can click into this and you can see what all of the different pieces are about this, what all of the different pieces are for this specific agent. So, you know, all of the data here, this is like way better than a screenshot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically it's way better than a screenshot. Somebody doesn't even have to have Notamation yet to come in here and understand what's happening. And so this is the widget that I created over the weekend. I'm happy to just kind of show you what I did, but you can
Yeah.
also, it has all of the APIs that are available for us to handle. So like you can add a frame around the outside and you can say like, hey, double click the node to see its settings, or you can grab all of the code for this by clicking there. Like super nice way for us to go and be like, hey, today in this video today, we're talking about the email agent, right? And so
Uh-huh.
then this is the supplementary information that goes along with the email agent. And so then they can come over here, they can explore it if they want to, and they can click all of the code. They can get all of the code for it, and then we can also have our video and our explainer for how this particular thing works. Because that's one of those frustrating things of like, hey, like whenever I've gone through some of them, this is one of those pieces I was like, how do you get this second line here to do the try again? Because there are times when the agent is like, hey, I didn't have all the info I needed, and so it needs to talk back to its parent agent and say, hey, you need to get more information, so you need this try again loop. And so how do you get that, right? And so it took me a minute to figure that out. But now you could just pop in here and you can be like, oh, under settings, and this window is too small, but under settings, you know, you can have it set up to where, I probably need to make it bigger. Here, let's make it bigger. Style, make it taller. Right? I mean, that's pretty nifty, right?
That's super cool.
So yeah, basically you can click into it. You can say, oh, that's how you get to that thing. That's how, you know, it all works. So anyway, it's pretty cool. I'm very happy that I got this finished this weekend. So there's this piece, right? There's the piece of, I wanted to be able to showcase workflows on the website for people who come into the community, and we can go that route. The next piece that that I feel like was really important was how to like, I need to have a chat widget on the front end that I fully control, so that whenever we like go and do this work for a specific client, then like that chat widget is available for us to work with. I'm not explaining it super well, but let me open this up here. Is this the right one? Let me see if this is the right one. Yes, I think this one is the right one. Okay, so bun run dev, bun run start. That's it. Allow. So what I've done here is this is a React application, but
Okay.
I've packaged it in such a way that it only needs to be okay, perfect. There's one file that gets run to insert all of the whole chat into a particular website. And the reason why I've wanted it to be just a one-line script is because what I want to be able to do is deploy this with a Google Tag Manager. So basically, we go to somebody and we say, hey, we would love to help you install an AI chat bot on your website. We don't want to have to touch anything about their existing website. And all we want to be able to do is insert that chat widget by having them add this one line into the Google Tag Manager. And if they're not going to do Google Tag Manager, it's super simple for us to just grab this one script right here and add one line of code to somewhere on their website, and that's going to show this up, right? So then we're going to click on localhost here, and so this is being served normally. So I'm going to grab this, and so then that's our chat widget. So I feel like this is a fairly clean looking chat widget. It's all built. It's all built in React. It's using Shad CNUI for a bunch of the stuff, but it is also hooked up. So hey, right? Hey, how are you today? I'm just a computer program, but I'm ready to help you. How can I assist you? Right? So where did this come from? Again, we can go back to our Notamation here, and we're going to tap on this AI chat one and executions right here. This is, hey, how are you today? Right? So two things. I think that there is more work to be done on this chat widget here. There's a couple of things that I've seen in the past that I would love to kind of incorporate into this one. And I'm not, and I'd love to see what you want to work on or whatever. But basically, one of those is after a little while, it would be nice if we could have a little red one show up on this chat right here. Because then that will help people to notice that the chat widget is showing up here, and then when they click on it, then it can open up like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's that. And yeah, what's up?
Well, I was just thinking along the lines of that. Since you would want to be like selling this to businesses, this is just an idea. This
Oh yeah, no worries.
might not be a good idea, but I mean, I feel like there's other ways to like maybe even build on top of it. Like for example, if it has that log of requests, then you could potentially do like statistics where it's like customers are having the most issues with this,
Oh yeah.
or customers are confused about this, which would be helpful for a business who, maybe needs to be able to maybe explain their product better or have better workflows for certain things. So if you like
Yeah.
offered to do like back end statistics with specific chats or something like that and sell
Yeah.
that maybe as like data to them, I don't know.
Some of the really cool options for that. I love where you're going with that. Some of the really cool options for that is we basically are just working on creating tools. So over here in our editor, we want to work on just adding the tools, right? And so one of the tools that you could add on to this absolutely is exactly what you're saying. Like, hey, customer request issues or something along those lines, right? And so then basically we're going to go in here and tell the AI agent, we're going to say, hey, with the system message, you have a tool, blah, blah, blah. You have a tool that allows you to keep track of the issues that these people are coming across, right?
Hmm.
And so then so call this tool anytime you want to record a message, record an issue that people are having. And so then inside that tool, then it will call that along with the other tools. It can call multiple tools at the same time. And all of
Hmm.
that comes from the system message that you give it. Like, for example, leave without saving. On this other one, this one has a lot more data about, here we pop this open. This one has a lot more data about, you have these tools available: email agent, calendar agent, contact agent, task agent, all of that. You have access to all of those things. Here's some rules about how you should use those tools, right?
Uh-huh.
And so absolutely, one of those we can just set up and say like, hey, every time that you figure out what somebody's problem is, go ahead and call this tool and tell us what the problem is, right?
Yeah.
And then now we can keep a running tally of all of the different things that are showing up for people. We can start categorizing them. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a fantastic, kind of tool to add to this whole arsenal of tools that we're building. So,
Cool.
anyway, you have that's kind of what I did over the weekend. I feel like it all turned out really pretty good. Do you want me to like go into any more depth on any of that? Like, so here's the chat widget.
Huh?
Here are the components, right? So these are just the React components for the chat, the avatars, the text areas.
Uh-huh.
You know, so yeah, basically just built this out to, to start off. Here's the initial chat bubble message.
Uh-huh.
So the pieces that I'm looking for next on this guy specifically is I'm trying to figure out, like, if we go back to the actual public page here. So there's two here. There's the index. So this is during development. You can kind of see this one. And then the test one right here is pulling the built version. And there's actually all of this can get deleted now because I removed something. Here, let's do one more build. Let's see. Control C, bun, run, build. Oh, I have to build the widget. That's right. I should just look at the composer JSON to see what my things are. Bun, run, build, widget. The build widget is what compiles it all into one single unit, so that
Okay.
so that we can deploy that one piece.
Okay.
So the piece that I'm considering working on next, or figuring out how to do with this particular piece, is that I want to be able to like have this be built once, and then I
Uh-huh.
want to be able to pass in parameters to the function that
Mhm.
allow you to then configure it. For example, right now I'm hard coding the URL for where to go to get your AI backend, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I
Mhm.
would love to be able to have, a script here that um, that has an option to pass in a data set, and that data set would be like, hey, what's your Notamation backend location need to be? And then if there's any updates or changes to the standard, then for example, what is the initial message that shows up? I'd love to be able to
Mhm.
pass that information in to then have it show up here instead. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so there, yeah, there's, I can share this repository with you, and you can take a look at it and see if it, make sure it builds for you and everything.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, basically that's kind of, I guess, right here. These are all, this isn't used anymore actually. This one, this is the one that has the chat support. So yeah, basically this is the JavaScript file itself that is run when that payload gets dropped onto the front end.
Right.
And so what we're doing here is we're checking, we're saying like, hey, get the element by ID, ydtb-chat-widget, right? If we don't have a widget already, which is likely the case, then go ahead and create a new div element, give it an ID of ydtb chat widget, and then append that widget to the document. And
Okay.
and then we're going to create a React root. So React DOM, create a React root here, and then render our chat support widget into that React root. And so then this right here is the React, chat support widget itself. And then from there,
Mhm.
everything is then React land. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how this works basically is this is the document or the piece that gets run on the front end. What I'd like to do is figure out how, and I'm sure there's ways of doing this, and I don't want it to be too hacky, but I don't know how other people do this per se.
Mhm.
But it could be that instead of this being just run automatically, then this is actually a function, right? Run, whatever it is, like sure, inject styles, right? And then all of this lives inside of that function. And then you can pass in your parameters or your properties. So chat support could have a property of, workflow, workflow URL, right? And so
Uh-huh.
then you could have your workflow URL passed in that way as a variable, or I don't know, there's a bunch of different ways that we could go about, pushing the data into this this function. Then what would happen is, so all of that would be inside this function, and we could pass in the properties to that function. Then when we come out to the actual page itself, then this right here would be, here's this script. We're going to then be able to call that same function, call function here, right? And then this time we're passing in the data that shows up for the information inside. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, this one would be workflow. And then this would be, the URL that we're trying to talk to, example.com/workflow, so yeah, exactly like this. That's kind of the gist of where I think I want to go with this. That way, when we start deploying this with the Google Tag Manager, this right here is what we're deploying, right? Although this right here, this index would be a minified, I mean, it is already minified, but basically this would be hosted with, whatever service we're using to host our package. And then they would download that package. Then our function would get called to then inject the support widget onto the page, and then like Bob's your uncle from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Uh, it's I know how to do it in Python, but in JavaScript, is there a way to have like a unknown number of arguments where, like whatever user can pass in as many arguments to a function as they need? Like
yeah.
is
So in JavaScript, if we're talking pure JavaScript, JavaScript is untyped. So there are no types for JavaScript. So you can do that automatically. You can pass
Oh,
in
okay.
anything you want and it will accept anything. It's on us to make sure that everything lines up correctly. When we start talking about TypeScript, then TypeScript, everything is typed, and we do have to make sure that we like all of the things are known. But generally, we can do that, and on top of that, you can go through and basically set every individual unit. You can say, hey, here's what's expected to go in and out, and here's the types of that, whether that's a string or a number or an object of some name,
Right.
whatever it is. Yeah, we can go through and we can do that.
So are you wanting the call function to have just like a specific few parameters that the each individual user would pass in at the beginning, or like
Mhm.
if they have additional data, be able to pass in that?
So at this point, there's only a few things that are allowed to be changed right at the moment, and as we come across the use cases down the road of what we want to have show up in the chat widget, then we can add those down the line as those use cases show up. So
Okay.
right at the moment, like the only one I can really think of concretely is the workflow needs to know where to go to get its back end, right? So
Yeah.
if we come back over here to Notamation and this AI chat, for this specific AI chat, um, you can double click on it and it's right there for this one. So this URL right there is what needs to be added to the front end over here like this.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Okay.
yeah, and we probably need to come up with a better name than call function. you know, initialize support widget probably would be a good name for that one, right? so so yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one piece. This is one piece that I'm working on. Is um, we kind of have the two sides of this. I would love to kind of create this and make this simple enough that somebody who is not technical can come in and use it, right? Because we want to. This is one of those things we want to start allowing people who are in our paid group have access to. We want to let them go through and use a lot of these pieces so that then
Uh-huh.
they can start going to other companies and they can use this to help connect the front end and the back end. And
Yeah.
I want to make that super simple for people who are technical but not super technical, right?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, and then we want to work on like exactly like you said, we want to work on defining what are the parameters that are allowed to be passed into to this function. Initialize chat support, right? And so we want to work on like defining what is the API for passing in data into our compiled chat widget, and we're good to go there. So anyway, there's that. Is there anything here that you feel like you're like, hey, I really want to go down that direction? Anything like that, or do you? What's your feel?
Um, well, I mean, that everything that you've shown me is like the exact kind of thing that just really gets me excited. So if you have some like identified, things that you want worked out or things that you
Mm-hmm.
want developed, I'd love to jump in there.
Okay,
Everything with the N8N was awesome too. Um,
cool. So
yeah.
so yeah, that one I think I actually have mostly finished that one for the most part in terms of where did I put it? Over here. So
Uh-huh.
so what I did here, and I like I do think it's pretty cool. I somebody else had an open source library that did a lot of this, but
Uh-huh.
I wired it up so that you could adjust all of the API parameters over here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I used somebody else's library, but then I came in here into Notamate or into Elementor, and I mapped it so that now it's a GUI. So you have this user interface that allows you to copy and paste the workflow JSON. You can change all of the parameters. And so then I'm going to be adding this right here to the Your Digital Toolbox Elements plugin, WordPress plugin, and then we can start using this inside of our when we come over here to groups, then I can, really easily do that. And so I think I'm going to use this automation group right here. Um,
Okay.
and so I will start to add the course and different like items that we want to share with people here. And then, this, I am going to work on streaming this to, YouTube, and I'm gonna just work on like streaming more of what I'm doing, so that so that we can kind of share what we're working on, and other people can comment on it as needed. So
Sure.
um yeah, so if you want to, you're welcome to like take apart any of the pieces that I built over the weekend. If there's anything there that like I do think that right now probably the thing that is up your alley the closest is working on like understanding what did I do to build this chat widget,
Yeah.
right? How did I build this chat widget? And then the next piece that I want to work on um, is passing data into the chat widget. So, for example, let's see, where is it? Oh, it's in the it's in the hooks. Yeah, in this use chat here. So this use chat has this URL right here hard coded, right?
Yep.
And so I want to figure out how do we pass, prop drill and pass this down into this location. We are actually I have set this up so that it is using where did it go? Index, yeah. So I am using a theme provider, and so like have you done much with contexts in React contexts?
A little bit,
A little
but
bit.
not a ton. Yeah.
So React contexts allows you to provide information to your app lower in the application without prop drilling. And prop drilling just
Oh,
being like, hey, if I wanted to get that piece of information all the way down to that piece, then I would have to, inside chat
send
support here.
props all the way
Yeah,
through.
exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, you can create a context. And so maybe, I mean, that'd be probably a really great thing for you to learn about is, hey, I want you to create a second context for this app that has the data that needs to be used. And then you can go through and use that data where it needs to be used, specifically, right here in the this current hard coded value. So, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So just like have like the webhook provided as part of like the theme kind of thing, the context.
What I would do is the way contexts work is I would actually have a second context. So this would be chat data,
Uh,
or some chat data provider,
okay.
right? And so then now we're gonna drop that. Oops. Come on. There it is. So chat data provider would be a second context that lives inside of the theme provider, and then that allows you um, to pass whatever data you want down to this one. And so the way that would work is, you know, workflow ID, so you could have a string like that. This workflow ID could then be passed down. So let's just real quick, let's do React context. Let's see if we can find a good. Um, maybe I'll find you some other resources for. Oh, this is just the regular React docs. This isn't context. That's why I was confused. Um, yeah, so right here, passing data deeply with context. Yeah, so this talks about the problem lifting state
Yeah.
up, prop drilling, right?
Yeah.
So context is an alternative to passing props. So and let me back up for one more piece and talk about like when is this appropriate to use, right? So
Okay.
if you have a full app where you have other things that are managing your state, so for example, if you have like a Redis or other, like you have something that is actually already handling state, then you don't need to worry about this because it's already handled for you, right? Whereas this is a very little app. I mean, this is a tiny app basically. We don't have any kind of database backend. We don't have any kind of state management system. It's a very, very simple app. This is using context for this is appropriate. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
Okay, let's see if this goes into creating context. Yes. So, so there's you. So you create the context in a place, but then you also use the context. And when you use the context, you can then pass that object around. And I would definitely go through and read this.
Yep.
Let me just double check. So this is react.dev/learn/passing dash data dash deeply dash with dash context. So I will go into learning about what context is there. And then let's see, do I components? So yeah,
Okay.
I would definitely go through, and here's the theme provider. So and we are, part of this is that we're using the next theme provider. So we didn't, so in doing the work for this particular piece, we haven't defined all of the props that could be passed. And so yeah, take a stab at it. If it doesn't work, then no worries. Like I'll come back in and we'll do another session on how to build context. And it's one of those
Yep.
things that like I do it enough that I know like what it's supposed to look like. But it's also infrequently enough that I have to look it up every time. Right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm excited for you to try it out, see what you think about it, and then
Okay.
we'll try again.
Would it be possible for you to like put the details of just the assignment on ClickUp just so I can
Mhm.
reference that, make sure I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
uh and then yeah, I can take a stab at it.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. Let me get the details up on ClickUp. That seems like it could be a fun project for you. Here, let me actually we'll switch to here to this. So sorry if that makes you like Inception there or whatever. Um, anyway, so that way we can talk, more face to face in our chat here,
Yep.
or in the stream. Okay. Also, I'm going to let me send you the link to this stream so that then if you wanted to go back and reference anything that we talked about, any of that would be fantastic. Um,
Yes.
that would be very helpful. Looks like we've been going for 43 minutes. It does seem wild to me how, like, whenever I get into like explaining these things and like going into it, like how the time can just fly by, and I'm like, wow, that
Definitely.
was wild.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Okay, cool. So I let me send that over to you on ClickUp. Let me make sure that you have access to this Git repo. I'll add that to ClickUp as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah, do you need my GitHub?
yes, yes, I do.
Let me
If you'll
see if I can
message that to
find.
me or text that to me, that would be great. Um,
Yeah. Okay. I'll just text it to you right now. I just pulled it up.
yeah. And then when you're adding this feature, we didn't really talk about this a lot, but go ahead and make a new branch in, so like, download the master branch, make a new branch, and you can call it, adding context or something reasonable like that. And then go
Yep.
through that process, do all of your builds inside of this branch, and
Hmm.
then push that branch to your Git. So first off, make sure you clone your fork the project to your own GitHub, and then when we're ready, then I'm going to have you make a pull request into my GitHub, and then we'll do a code review of it. And then if there's anything that I want you to change or add, then we'll go through that process, and then it will get merged into the main one, and then we'll go from there. Is that
Got
great?
it. Yep.
Okay, very good. Do you need anything else right at the moment?
No, I don't think so. I texted you the my GitHub, so once I see the project appear, I'll clone it and yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, excited to
Cool.
see where you go with it. So,
Sounds good.
okay, all right. Chat with you later.